Chapter 392 to 394. Taking into account the urgency of the matter, the members of Team Ro traveled fast. It wasn't that of a problem considering that each of them had the strength at the level equal or high to that of Tokubetsu Jonin, and maintaining this speed they soon reached the eastern coast of the Land of Fire. Pointing at the map spread on the ground before him, Watatsumi said to the 4 members of Team Ro, "Right now we are now at the Land of Whirlpool, and to travel to the Land of Water, we will need to travel through the sea." Rabbit asked, "Captain Cough **, which mode of transport should we use to sneak into the Land of Water?" Hannah said with a frown, "What do you mean by which mode of transport? We have to cross the sea, so what else can it be other than a boat?" Rabbit said, sorry, I did not phrase my question correctly. I meant to ask, which type of boat should we use, passenger boats, fisherman boats, merchant ships, or pirate ships?" Watatsumi said, All the passenger boats, fisherman boats, and merchant ships going to the Land of Water will be thoroughly inspected by the Kirigakure shinobi, and the security will be especially high, so directly using these methods to sneak inside the Land of Water is very risky and will definitely alert the enemy." Akame questioned, "In that case a pirate ship?" Weasel said, "But I have heard rumors that some shinobi of Kirigakure disguise themselves as pirates and roam all over the sea to keep track of intelligence that normal shinobi miss." "Now that you mention it, I have heard these rumors too." Akame nodded, then said, "In that case, which option do you suggest, Captain?" Watatsumi thought a little and said, "We will start with a normal passenger boat or maybe a merchant ship, and when we reach closer to the Land of Water, we will change to other methods. Either we will swim to the Land of Water or maybe we can just row a simple small boat." Akame said after a bit of thinking, "But if we use that option, we will have to abandon the ship at least tens of kilometers before the port in order to not get detected by any censorine. Swimming such a large distance would be very dangerous. There is also a possibility of encountering pirates." Watatsumi nodded, "It can get dangerous, yes, but this is our best bet, and don't worry, with my Byakugan keeping track of our surroundings, things will be very easy. I can detect pirates approaching much earlier and thus we can prepare following countermeasures, or avoid them. So it wouldn't be that much of a problem." "All right." The 4 nodded and followed. The captain always has the final say and nobody can oppose that. As so the Team Ro disguised themselves as common civilians and traveled to the Land of Water using a simple passenger boat used by the common civilians. 4 days later. On one of the islands of the Land of Water. While studying the map of the Land of Water and determining the route the Team Ro should use to sneak inside Kirigakure, Watatsumi said, "Currently we are on one of the islands that is part of the Land of Water, which means that we have already entered the sphere of influence of Kirigakure, so everyone will be at their utmost vigilance. We will camp here for the next few hours to adjust ourselves to the environment of Kirigakure and then venture further inside the Land of Water." "All right." The 4 nodded and got busy. The 4 of them are trained shinobi. There was no need for the captain to give further instructions and they started doing all the tasks one by one. Weasel was responsible for setting up traps and alert barriers. Akame took out rations that they will be eating. The rations mostly include dried meat and bread. Rabbit and Hannah were responsible for keeping watch over the surroundings. After everything was arranged, they ate the meal and were now resting. A team of alternating 2 members was responsible for keeping watch over the surroundings. While looking at the sky, Watatsumi murmured, "Today is a moonless night." At this time, a flock of crows appeared in the forest, but there was no cawing and the crows silently sat on the tree branches, neither alerting anyone nor interfering with anyone. But Watatsumi had a smile when he noticed the flock of crows. "Finally here, huh?" There was no reply, but Watatsumi did not need any reply. He just closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. Let's see how it will play out. Half an hour later. Suddenly the surroundings started to become chilly and the amount of mist in the surroundings slowly increased. The amount of mist is increasing. Although the speed at which the mist increased was very slow, it was instantly noticed by Akame and Rabbit, which meant that the enemy is nearby and they plan to increase the amount of mist in the surroundings and then use it to their advantage. Both Rabbit and Akame looked at each other and instantly devised the plan of action. The rabbit turned himself invisible and took the lead in finding the location of the enemy. Meanwhile, Akame was responsible for passing the message to the other 3 members of the team. "Captain, wake up, enemy is nearby." Akame whispered in a low voice to wake up Watatsumi. One whisper was more than enough to wake up Watatsumi Byakugan, and the first thing he did was to activate his Byakugan to locate the enemy. Meanwhile, Akame also alerted Weasel and Hannah. By the time the other 2 were awake, Watatsumi instructed, "Prepare to fight. We are surrounded by over a dozen Kiri shinobi. Not even a single one should be allowed to escape as that would be detrimental to our mission. Kill them all except for one, for intelligence extraction." "Yes." The 4 nodded and instantly prepared for the fight. Externally they did not let it show on their faces, but internally the 4 can't help but sigh. It hasn't even been a full day since Team Ro has sneaked inside the Land of Water. The infiltration mission to Kirigakure hasn't even started yet, and the whereabouts have already been exposed to the enemy. This is obviously a very blow for them who were performing an S-class Umbu mission for the first time. Watatsumi just said, "Act in the teams of 2, Akame and Rabbit, 7 shinobi at 2 o'clock, Weasel and Hannah, 5 shinobi at 6 o'clock. I will act alone at 10 o'clock. Now split up and show them hell. Also don't die on me. After giving them a few words of a pep talk, Watatsumi disappeared from his position with a body flicker. Yes, Captain. The other two teams also nodded at each other and went in the direction assigned to them. By now the cover of mist was very thick and it got to the point where even one couldn't even see anything below her neck. But nobody panicked, as they are exceptional shinobi. Akame and Hana were responsible for sensing through the cover of mist. Weasel for some reason can also see through the cover of mist, while Rabbit's invisibility became more of a threat in this thick cover of mist. Not long after, sounds of metal collision, explosion, wind cutting, water crashing, vapor forming could be heard throughout the forest. However, the crows neither panicked nor cawed, but nobody knew that as these crows were hardly visible in the moonless night covered in mist. At this moment, these crows converged into the shape of a human silhouette and appeared behind Watatsumi, who had just killed the last Kiri shinobi on his side by blasting a mini Rasengan/finger Rasengan in the forehead of this Kiri shinobi. You are here, Itachi, Watatsumi said as he inserted his left hand enveloped in chakra inside the brain of the only alive and unconscious Jonin and took out a ball of light from it. What is that ball of light, Kuroto-san? Itachi, who was covered in a black cloak, curiously looked at everything Watatsumi was doing, especially at that ball of light in Watatsumi's hand. Watatsumi said, Yo, this. It's a memory ball. In simple terms, it's a recording of this shinobi's memories from the moment of his birth to the moment of his death. And I am reading it to gain a complete understanding of Kirigakure's exact situation from this shinobi's point of view. That is a very good and practical jutsu to extract intelligence out of someone, Itachi said in appreciation. Watatsumi nodded as the memory ball in his hands faded away. It is. Its only weakness is that it doesn't work on those who are dead. Which means that anyone alive is vulnerable to this jutsu. Itachi said while looking at the positive side. Watatsumi nodded and said, Anyway, now that I have gained a good level of understanding of Kirigakure's situation from this shinobi's point of view, let's go and see how the members of Team Ro, including your Kurasukage Bushin crow clone, is doing against the enemy. Itachi nodded, his body again split into hundreds of crows, out of which one crow landed on Watatsumi's shoulder while the rest dispersed in the forest. Watatsumi and the crow on his shoulder moved towards, then jumped on top of a tree, silently observing the battle. The whole battle lasted for about 50 minutes and finally ended with the victory of Team Ro. However, the state of the four did not seem very good as they incurred some injuries. The most injured is Akame because she acted as bait to draw out enemies for Rabbit to kill, therefore she was the first target. Aside from various cut wounds, poison is also present in her body, therefore her combat effectiveness is greatly reduced. Fighting is another thing, she is having trouble even walking. Then next are Hana and Weasel. Their injuries are also not that simple. On their side was a Jonin leading the team, as such, they also suffered, albeit less than Akame. The one to suffer the least injuries among the four is Rabbit. Thanks to his invisibility, he was a difficult target. But considering that his body is weak, therefore he seems to be tired after such a long fight. Since the enemy was defeated, the fog soon cleared up and Watatsumi alone returned to the group. He had, of course, killed the few escaping Kiri shinobi. Seeing the captain return uninjured, the four of them breathed a sigh of relief. Captain. Watatsumi glanced at everyone's state, then after a bit of mulling he said, There is a change of plan, we will be meeting someone, the four of you will be staying in his command for the time being, and I will perform the task alone. There has been a change of plans. Team Ro will be meeting with another Umbu team hiding in the land of water. The four of you will remain under the leadership of that team's captain, and I will complete the mission on my own. Watatsumi stated to the team's four members. Wait, you can't do this, Captain. Akame protested as soon as Watatsumi's voice fell silent. Don't be stubborn, Watatsumi groaned, you can't even stand or walk properly due to your injuries and poisoning. How are you going to complete the mission? These injured dash. Akame tried to respond. Watatsumi, on the other hand, refused to let her finish. Kirigakure is apart from other shinobi villages in that its shinobi are known for their brutality. Apart from the fact that the mission assigned to us by Hokage-sama is not straightforward, the four of you will only pull me down with your current injuries. It's better if you all stay under the direction of another Umbu squad while I complete the mission. Akame slumped to the ground, unwilling and disappointed after hearing Watatsumi's comments. Both Rabbit and Hana exuded a despondent demeanor. They were pronounced incapable of continuing their mission even before they traveled deeper into the land of water? The mission's risk was regarded so great that they were deemed incapable of continuing? What exactly is the goal of this mission? They haven't yet been briefed what the task entails. Their captain has advised them to learn to let go of things now and again, but it's frustrating. Only Weasel, like the excellent boy he is, was quiet and obedient. Don't be too disappointed, Watatsumi replied, casting a glance at the battlefield. This is your first S-class Umbu mission, and even if the four of you didn't manage to kill all of the Kiri shinobi as I had intended, each of you survived against them at their home turf, albeit with a few wounds, which isn't a bad start. But the challenge will increase from here on out. There was only one Jonin among the two squads the four of you confronted, and even he could have escaped if I hadn't caught up to him in time. But that will no longer be the case. None of you performed up to the standards I had hoped, which disappointed me. Watatsumi did not say exactly, but his message was plain to them. You even let a jonin almost get away, and I had to clean him up to keep any intelligence from leaking out. However, I will not have time to clean up the mess you leave behind from now on. So please do as I say and stay behind so that you don't drag me down. Was there really only one jonin among them? Akame whispered doubtfully. This group only had 2 jonin, one on my side and the other on Weasel and Hana's side. The rest were all regular chunin or genin class, Watatsumi said, nodding. The reason for their superior performance is due to their home advantage and the type of growth they have experienced as shinobi of the Village of the Bloody Mist. The long-running civil war and dangerous environment of the Village of the Bloody Mist may have sapped much of this village's potential, but it has also remarkably honed their surviving shinobi, who must constantly face life and death situations not only against other shinobi but also against themselves. Hearing Watatsumi's affirmation and recognizing they couldn't continue their task any longer, Akame and the other 3 stopped insisting and nodded. All right. Don't worry, Watatsumi replied, you will be continuing a few things even under his supervision, and it will also be a diversion for me to sneak inside Kirigakure, so indirectly the 4 of you are still participating in the operation. It's okay, Captain, Hana responded, you don't have to console us. Watatsumi did not respond, instead weaved hand signs to imitate Kagebushin. Poof. Since time is of the essence here, my shadow clone will escort the 4 of you to his Umbu team, Watatsumi remarked, tapping the back of his shadow clone, which created a seal on the clone. Also, if Akame takes this antidote, the poison's effects should be reduced to a bare minimum. Watatsumi handed the antidote to Akame, who nodded. All right, now that I am leaving, you should also depart, and make sure that the 4 of them securely meet up with Marino Ibiki, Watatsumi remarked, passing a scroll to his clone. I'll take care of it. The clone nodded and walked out with Akame, Weasel, Hana, and Rabbit to see Marino Ibiki. Good luck, Captain, the 4 members of Team Ro remarked to Watatsumi before leaving. Watatsumi nodded, and the 4 of them, along with his clone, left. As the swarm of crows gathered back into Itachi, Watatsumi removed his mask and inquired, Kuroto-san, why did you not want them to participate in this mission? Itachi had delivered Team Ro's formation to one of Kirigakure's shinobi, and Itachi had done so on Kuroto's orders, which is why the Team Ro was discovered by Kiri shinobi. The reason for this is that Kuroto did not want any other member of Team Ro to participate in this mission, which is why Itachi feels perplexed. Tell me your view, Itachi, do you think Team Ro is capable of completing this mission? Kuroto asked. Team Ro is absolutely capable with you in the team, Itachi stated, but if your full combat power is not taken into account, I am afraid it will be an almost impossible assignment for Team Ro, given the parameters that must be followed. Infiltrating a shinobi village to specifically assassinate the village's leader without letting a single soul discover oneself is exceedingly tough even for a squad of Sannin, let alone a team of Umbu. Furthermore, there is a strong possibility that the Mizukage is in contact with Akatsuki, so it wouldn't be surprising if Akatsuki members are present in Kirigakure, raising the difficulty of this mission from extremely difficult to impossible, at least for Team Ro, even if they plan to exploit the upcoming coup d'état. Itachi is aware of Kuroto's actual strength, therefore he did not find it weird that Team Ro was given this job, yet now that he thinks about it, it is strange that Team Ro was given this mission. There is no need to think too much about it, Kuroto stated. The reason Sandaime-sama assigned such a mission for Team Ro is due to the village's scarcity of manpower. He can only hope that Team Ro will be able to exploit the coup d'état. After all, Sandaime-sama is aware of my ability to perform chakra suppression jutsu. So it's not so strange that he's assigned me this mission. Collecting intelligence on Akatsuki and Amatsukumi's recent sightings and movements, probable new hideouts, planning Akatsuki's retaliation, protecting the Kyubi's Jinchuriki, dealing with the reaction of all the shinobi clans, and so on. Don't leave him with a lot of cards to play with. Fortunately, this task was given to you, Kuroto-san. If it had been handed to any other Umbu squad, fulfilling this mission would have been impossible. Itachi sighed. My subordinates have the potential to become exceptional shinobi, Kuroto explained, and I don't want them to die young doing something they can't accomplish. I agree, Itachi answered, but now that they're out of the picture and it's just the 2 of us, what's the plan? Have you finished all of the directions I provided you? Kuroto inquired. Yes, Itachi said with a nod. Sneak inside Kirigakure following one of the secret routes marked on this map. Make yourself a civilian of Kirigakure, since you can also use chakra suppression jutsu, so it wouldn't be that difficult. Then observe the state of the village, especially the movements of Momochi Zabuza, and wait for further order, Kuroto said, passing another scroll from his shinobi bag to Itachi. I understand, Itachi said with a nod. If there is no contact from my side for the next 1 week, and if you meet someone from Akatsuki or if the situation in Kirigakure grows too chaotic, Kuroto said, then you can act accordingly or retreat as per your judgment. All right. Itachi nodded once more. Also, Uchiha Tsukihai might come into contact with you, Kuroto added again. Will Tsukihai-san be in the cast this time? Itachi inquired, since neither he nor Shursui had heard from Uchiha Tsukihai after the fight against Shino, and she did not even appear in the combat against Akatsuki, which perplexed them. Due to certain circumstances, I am unable to employ my full strength, so I will delegate this assignment to Tsukihei. In the meantime, I have other matters to attend to. Kuroto nodded. All right. Itachi nodded and stopped questioning. Since there are no other questions so set off, Kuroto stated once everything was apparent. Itachi nodded and his body transformed into a flock of crows which swooped away toward Kirigakure. Kuroto also cleaned up the battlefield after Itachi left, before flying in the direction of Anchor Vantion. Kuroto had promptly commanded the Kazekage puppet to transfer the Sky Castle from the boundary of Land of Rain to the shore of Land of Water after learning the details of the mission entrusted to him by Sandame a few days ago, and it did not take him long to arrive at Anchor Vantion. Kuroto-sama! He was received with a bow by the Kazekage puppet, Gaara, and Karen when he arrived at the air fortress. It appears that your etiquette education is going quite well, Kuroto observed thoughtfully, looking at the kids bowing politely to him. They exchanged nods. It seems Karen's presence has rapidly helped him get over his father's loss. Kuroto also noticed Gaara's demeanor is considerably more cheery than usual. But on the other hand, his father didn't really play the role of father for him, so it's not so weird. Anyway, since Kuroto is rarely present at the aerial fortress, it has become their playground. Aside from basic training and academics, the two spend most of their time playing some type of game, which Kuroto, of course, organizes to hone their shinobi talents. For young children, mental training is essential, and the best way to build their interest in them is to use activities that are ultimately fun. Kuroto arrived at his laboratory after a few more brief chats with the two children. He then used Tenseigan's soul descent to transfer his soul into Tsukihei clone as quickly as possible and then fled the air castle after getting clothed. Kirigakure. The figure of a young girl with black hair and ebony eyes, dressed in a wet ragged old grey cloak, tough clothes with bandages underneath, can be seen going through the silent streets of Kirigakure in the low light of early dawn. Her walking speed is very slow and she appears to stagger every 2 steps as she takes in the views of the village. Kirigakure's environment is extremely different from Konoha's prosperity for a variety of reasons. There are few shops in the village and the number of customers visiting these shops can be counted on a single hand. The residential area is gloomy with all the windows shut and the streets are lonely but not too lonely with a few beggars or inebriated guys spotted here and there. A few starving orphan children can also be found wandering the streets. The woman spotted someone surreptitiously glancing at her as she crossed a few streets. Sigh, the woman turned and wandered down a dark alleyway with a helpless sigh. A few seconds later, a group of men appeared on both sides of the passageway, encircling the hapless woman. What do you people want from me? She inquired, her voice weak and terrified, especially after seeing those swords. The one in front of them drew his sword from its sheath and took a step forward. The woman panicked as she sensed the men's danger and staggered a few steps backward. At that point, the ragged fabric covering her face slid down, revealing her stunning look to the men in front of her. Whistle, the man in charge of these soldiers whistled in awe of her beauty and grumbled, such beauty. A wonderful candidate for courtesanship. Heck, she would even be a good fit for becoming a geisha, or even a concubine if properly educated. Given her beauty, aristocrats would be prepared to pay a high price to spend even a single night with her. It's unfortunate that she appears to be physically crippled. We'll have to make some plans to address that issue, or perhaps we won't. I suppose, given current trends and high-class society's priorities, her impairment could be an advantage as well. Yes, Bancho, one of the goons at his side said, I heard the upper class is into this kind of thing lately, so having her amuse the nobles will be rather beneficial for us. I had expected them to be Kiri shinobi targeting me for being a suspected spy, but I never thought such a circumstance to emerge. I guess women have to deal with these kinds of problems too, huh? The woman said, her face awkward as she realized what these men wanted to use her for. It's no surprise that many of them get violent. It is only natural for someone to become violent if they are considered as nothing more than an object, a potential candidate capable of fulfilling the need of other men, or if they are continually scrutinized by lusty eyes wherever they go. Young girl, your beauty is inhuman, the leader remarked, coughing. It would be a pity to let you die of hunger on the streets, he continued, therefore I am offering you a bargain, and of course, you have no right to refuse it, else a destiny worse than death will await you. Bancho-sama, what's the deal? The woman inquired, her voice tinged with apprehension. Come with me, and I'll help you discover your true worth, the leader offered. True worth? But the woman was about to say something when the Bancho interrupted her. Look girl, you just have 2 choices. Either you come with me voluntarily and without resistance, or we break your legs totally and take you with us violently. Which will it be your choice? Then, the third option. The woman exclaimed, summoning all her bravery. What about the third? Didn't you hear what I said? I only gave you 2 options, there is no third option here. The leader remarked, frowning. I know, that's why I said the third option, the woman responded, nodding. Bancho, aside from being physically crippled, I believe she also appears to have some brain or hearing problems, one of the goons speculated. I believe. But before the Bancho could accept, he overheard Lovely Demon whispering, "The third option is to turn around and walk away. Make a U-turn and walk away. Turn around and walk away." All of the thugs' eyes, both those in front and behind the woman, went dark the next minute, and they too muttered, "Turn around and walk away." They then followed instructions, turned around, and went away. The defenseless woman standing in the middle of the lonely dark street had vanished by the time the last of them went away, leaving no evidence of her presence behind. "Phew," said someone in a dark alley in Kirigakure at the same time. "If my Kagebushin had battled or killed them, there's a chance I'd have been spotted by other Kirigakure shinobi, but with Genjutsu, things are a lot easier," murmured Tsukihai as she encased a Kirigakure Umbu Kunoichi's body in a storage scroll. This Umbu Kunoichi is the younger sister of the Jonin Watatsumi had killed earlier, and since his memories were retrieved, the sister's identity as a Kirigakure Umbu was also revealed. Using her is obvious, Uchiha Tsukihai sent her a message informing her of her brother's injuries. Despite Kunoichi's vigilance, love for her brother won over, and the worried Kunoichi arrived promptly. As a result, she died. With her body imprisoned inside a scroll and her memories read by Tsukihai using her eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, Uchiha Tsukihai donned the Umbu Kunoichi's garb and used transformation jutsu to transform herself into the Kunoichi. Because this Kunoichi is currently off duty, Tsukihai took advantage of the opportunity to visit an izakaya that this Kunoichi frequents when she feels like drinking sake. She went to the second floor and sat at the window, where she could enjoy a good view of the Mizukage building after ordering her usual. She had a strange gleam in her eyes when she looked at the Mizukage building. According to the reports sent to Sandaime Hokage by Marino Ibiki's team, a coup d'état in Kirigakure might occur at any time, resulting in a civil war. Tsukihai, on the other hand, discovered that the security of the Mizukage building is fairly casual, in contrast to the security of the Hokage office when the Uchiha clan was organizing a coup. Mizukage does not appear to be making any preparations for coping with the coup d'état based on his relaxed security. If our spies have heard of the coup, it's unthinkable that Obito, with Zetsu's intelligence-gathering powers, are uninformed of such information. Is he planning to leave the Kirigakure? Tsukihai pondered, then shook her head. "I don't think he'll quit the Kirigakure that easily, especially in light of the fact that, aside from Suna, Konoha, and Kumo, even Amatsukami is on the hunt for Akatsuki. Kirigakure might be more useful to him than it has ever been. So what exactly does he plan to do? Is there anything he's planning in order to deal with the coup? I'm curious as to what he's thinking right now. Is he planning to leave the Mizukage and Kirigakure? Or does he aim to make a fool of Momochi Zabuza by taking this occasion to put an end to everyone's notion of a coup d'état? Or does he have a third option in mind?